Nateflix.
What's up, everyone? This is Nate, and this is a very special video. It is, of course, October, and every year I do my 31 days of horror, and as part of this, I thought, why not do some special horror-themed videos? This will be the first one, and basically what I did here is I watched 4 different Dracula movies, all of them having pretty much the same basic Dracula story, and I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown on each one. I'm going to tell you the overall score that I'm going to give each one. I'm going to rate the atmosphere of each one. I'm going to rate the Dracula in each one, and I'm going to rate the Van Helsing in each one. And then from there, we'll see which one is the best and which one you should give a watch to.
I am Dracula.
I am Dracula.
I am Dracula.
I am Count.
I am Dracula.
I am Count Vladislas Dracula.
My name is Dracula.
Dracula.
All right, so the first one we're going to start with, I'm going to go in reverse. So I'm going to start with the newest and work my way back to the oldest one that I watched. So the newest one that I watched was 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula. This was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. This stars, in the role of Dracula, Gary Oldman. In the role of Van Helsing, Anthony Hopkins. But it also stars Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, who's very terrible in it. But we're not here to talk about them. We're not here to talk about terrible Keanu Reeves. Although he'll factor into the overall score, he's not going to factor into the some of the other stuff. So, as far as the atmosphere of this movie, I would give it like a 5. I don't think there's something about it that it doesn't have that, like, compared to the other ones, that Dracula feel. It's set mostly in London, which most of them are, but like you're at his castle at the beginning and the castle stuff seems very small to me. Like it's in like little rooms and it doesn't have that Dracula feel, in my opinion, like personally. So the atmosphere, I'm only going to give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's maybe like the worst of the 4 that I'm going to review on that particular level. Now, as far as Dracula and Van Helsing. So, Gary Oldman, amazing in this movie. He's a terrific Dracula. He's great when he looks like an old grandma, when he's the old grandma Dracula, when he's all wrinkly and white-haired and he looks like my grandma. He's great in that role, but he's also great when he gets like his youth, when he drinks some blood and becomes more like Gary Oldman looking. He's fantastic. His performance is really great. Honestly, I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. As far as a Dracula goes, he's elite. He was great. Van Helsing, also going to give a 9 out of 10. Now, Anthony Hopkins is a great actor. We all know he's a great actor. And he's a very good Van Helsing as well. Very believable. Great performance from I wouldn't say young, but younger Anthony Hopkins, right? This movie's 28 years old at this point. So this was right after Silence of the Lambs, which was 91, and this was 92. So he had just come off an Oscar win, and he's really, really good in this movie as well. So Van Helsing, Dracula, they gotta be, they're like enemies, right? Van Helsing's trying to kill him the whole time and stuff like that. So if one's good and the other one's not, it hurts. They're both fantastic. So 5 out of 10 for the atmosphere, 9 out of 10 for Dracula, 9 out of 10 for Van Helsing. Overall score on the movie, 7. I give it a 7. I think it's good. I think it's not great, though. It's not great. Keanu Reeves is especially bad in this movie. He tries to do a British accent. It's one of the worst British accents in the history of British accents. And it's his fault for not being good at acting, but it's also Francis Ford Coppola's fault for casting him, totally miscasting Keanu Reeves. Like, he's trying to get a young, hot actor, I guess. He's bad. Winona Ryder's good in it, though. Winona Ryder's actually pretty good in it. But overall, a 7. There's blood. It's R-rated. So there's some blood and gore and stuff like that, which is cool. Some of the creature when Dracula turns into like that big monster version of Dracula is pretty cool. The opening is very great. I love the opening scene. I like the movie. It drags a little bit, but I like it. So 7 out of 10 for Bram Stoker's Dracula. All right, now the next Dracula movie I watched is a movie that is titled Dracula. It's just titled Dracula. This movie was from 1979, and it stars Frank Langella as Dracula, and it stars Laurence Olivier as Van Helsing. So as far as the atmosphere in this one is way better than Bram Stoker's Dracula. As far as the atmosphere, the castle looks like, his castle. They don't even really show him too much in the castle. He is coming to London, and like the London house that he sets up, it's full of cobweb. Like it looks very horror or gothic horror. And so when he's outside of like the mansion stuff, like there's always fog, and it has that really gothic look that I like, that I think fits Dracula really well. So for the atmosphere, honestly, I give it a 9 out of 10. I think it is way more atmospheric than Bram Stoker's Dracula. Frank Langella, he's a really, really good Dracula, I'll be honest. I'm gonna give him a 9 out of 10 as well. I think his performance was great. He is, out of all of them, I would probably say he's the most like handsome. Gary Oldman is like, he was younger and he was handsome, but Frank Langella they really play him to be like a sex symbol type Dracula. He wears the open shirts, his hair is like really well done. He's like kind of like tall, dark. He's like almost like got a tan kind of. He's really, really doing it for the ladies in this one. And I think that was good. They did a good job. Also, his performance is just good. He's not particularly scary for most of it, but also it works because he's more of a romantic version of Dracula, and I think he did a great job. So 9 out of 10 for him. And for Van Helsing, Laurence Olivier, one of the greatest actors of all time, 9. I'm also going to give him a 9. I think he is really, really good in this movie. He doesn't show up until like a little later than some of the other versions of Dracula, but when he shows up, he's good at kind of figuring out what's going on, putting it together, and trying to essentially stop Dracula. So I'm going to give Van Helsing a 9 in this. I'm going to give Dracula a 9 in this. I'm going to give the atmosphere a 9 in this. The movie, though, even with all those 9s, 8.5. I'm not quite going to give it the 9. I'm going to give it an 8.5. Also, this movie has a score by John Williams. So you get a John Williams score, and Donald Pleasence is in this movie. He was in Halloween, the original Halloween. I don't remember anyone else like familiar to me. I know Donald Pleasence was probably the most familiar outside of the main two leads, but really good movie. I had never seen this movie. It was my first time watching it, and I quite liked it. Honestly, it's probably my second favorite like iteration of this classic Dracula story. I think it has the right atmosphere. It has a great score. It has good performances. It's rated R, but it's not overly like gory or anything like that. But it just, I think it hit all the right notes pretty well. A little long. Again, I feel like for some reason some of these are kind of long and they drag a little bit. This one suffered from that, but overall, really, really good movie. 8.5. All right, so the next one on the list was, in the US, it's called The Horror of Dracula. So if you're trying to buy this movie or look it up, Horror of Dracula. In the UK, where it was made, it's just called Dracula. This is a Hammer Films release. So Hammer is the British equivalent to someone like Universal here in the US, where the classic monsters. Hammer is the British version, although Universal did distribute a lot of their movies here in the US, so that's kind of funny. And this one stars Christopher Lee as Dracula, Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, and both of those, Peter Cushing was in a lot of Hammer films, so was Christopher Lee, they both were. But they were in a ton of Hammer films. You might, if you're not familiar with Hammer, Peter Cushing, you might know him from Star Wars. He was in the first Star Wars. He was the, I forget his name, but he was the general guy that works with Vader, and they also computerized him in Rogue One. That's Peter Cushing. Christopher Lee, if you don't know Hammer films, you'll know him as, what was his name? Saruman from The Lord of the Rings. He's the wizard with the long white hair. He was also Count Dooku in Star Wars. So both went on to be in Star Wars films, both of these actors. And both of them did a lot of horror films. Now, as far as the atmosphere in this one, honestly, 6. It's another one that kind of like Bram Stoker's, it's a little too small scale for me. It's very British, and it's made in England. Obviously, it's a British, an English film, but like his castle's way too small. Like it's not very grand at all. Like, and on top of that, like there's not a lot of the atmosphere that I like. Everything just looks cold, as best as I could describe it. So where a lot of these other movies have like the fog and they look kind of gothic and creepy, this just looks like it's like a cold place. It looks wet and cold all the time. A lot of stone and like, I don't know. It was not my favorite. So 6 out of 10 as far as the atmosphere goes. As far as Dracula, I'll be honest. Going into this one, I was very excited because Christopher Lee played Dracula, I believe, 7 or 8 times in Hammer films. And he's widely regarded as like one of the best Draculas, if not the best like Dracula ever. And judging off this, I don't think so. I'd give him a 6. He's barely in the movie, which is weird. He's in the beginning, and then he goes a long time without being in it again, and then he pops up a couple more times. Not only is he barely in it, he like barely talks. He doesn't have a lot of lines. He's not a strong character, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong. I read a lot of reviews of this. It has a high score on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people love it. For me, I didn't love the performance. I didn't think he was that great. He has the look. He's kind of tall, and they did the red contact lenses, and there's some blood in this. So for the late 50s, it was kind of like edgier, but I didn't love it. Now, Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, 8 out of 10. He's terrific. He's really good in the role. He has a face. Look up Peter Cushing if you don't know what he looks like, but he just has the face of Van Helsing to me. I don't know what that means, but I was like, yeah, that's Van Helsing. Like, he seems like it. He really, really hates Dracula. He really wants to kill him. And yeah, I think he was really good in this. So Peter Cushing, 8. Christopher Lee, I feel bad, but 6. Overall, a 6. Like, the movie was fine. To me, it was the least of the 4 that I watched. And as a matter of fact, I recently watched another Dracula movie starring Christopher Lee, like a sequel. So they're not like direct sequels, but they're kind of sequels. And the one I watched is called Taste the Blood of Dracula. And I like that one way better. I'm not going to review that one in this. I'm sticking with the origin Dracula story. But that one was better. The movie was better. Christopher Lee was better in it. So maybe he got better, but this one I didn't love. So I'm going to give this one a 6 overall. It was my least favorite of these 4. And last, but certainly not least, the OG Dracula movie, in my opinion. 1931, Universal Pictures, Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Edward Van Sloan as Van Helsing. So let's just call it what it is right away. We'll go right to the atmosphere, 10 out of 10. This is 10 out of 10, perfection. It's black and white. The castle looks grand. The coffin, the scene where the camera in the beginning is like slowly coming in on the coffin, and you see it's like almost like a basement of a castle or whatever, and there's like fog on the floor. Perfect. Then when Harker goes to the castle to meet him, and he comes in, and it's big, and there's the stairwell, and Dracula's on it, and he's just standing, like everything about it is perfect, and is exactly like what I imagine when I think of Dracula. So 10 out of 10 on the atmosphere all throughout. Even when they go to London, the houses, the way they decorate the sets, everything, perfect, 10 out of 10. Dracula himself, Bela Lugosi, 10 out of 10. He's the best, in my opinion. And I haven't seen every Dracula movie, but I've seen a lot. He is on the far end of the spectrum as far as great. I should put him over here. And then like over here, you got like Gerard Butler from Dracula 2000. Or maybe the guy in Van Helsing. Whoever that guy was that played Dracula with the hair. They're here. This is Bela Lugosi. He is fantastic. The way he delivers the lines, perfect. He has an accent. Like, he's not an American actor or a British actor. Like, he sounds like a European. This guy's from Transylvania. He has the perfect accent. The way he delivers the lines. The look. Like, I think it's the most iconic. It is the oldest, but also nothing past it, right? So you can be the OG and something could pass you. I think Heath Ledger, Joker, a lot of people think that before Jack Nicholson now, right? And Jack Nicholson was first. I don't think that happened with Dracula. I think Bela Lugosi is still like the premier Dracula performance in my opinion. So 10 out of 10. Van Helsing, 7. He's kind of kooky in this movie. Out of all of them, he's kind of kooky and weird. He's not bad. He's good. That's why I said 7. But he's not as, like, Anthony Hopkins was better. They were all better. I think all the other Van Helsings, I think this is the worst Van Helsing and the best Dracula out of all of them. But as the worst Van Helsing, he's still pretty good. So I liked him. He was fine. Overall, though, I'm going to give the movie a 10. I reviewed this before. I gave it a 10 then. I rewatched it for this comparison piece, and I give it a 10 now. Nothing changed. I think it's only 70 minutes. There's no fluff. These other movies, like, this movie's 70 minutes, and it tells the same exact story as Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that movie's like over 2 hours long. So, I know that they padded it. It's a big, it's based off a book. They added other stuff, but was it necessary? That's all I'm saying. I don't know if all of it's necessary. It never drags. It is older, but it's perfection. So 10 out of 10 on this one. Even with the Van Helsing getting a 7, the movie overall is a 10 out of 10 for me. Okay, so just to wrap it up here, we had 4 Dracula movies. We have the original 1931 Dracula, 10 out of 10, perfection, love it. We have 1958's The Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula if you're from the UK. I give that one a 6. It was my least favorite of these Dracula movies. It's not bad. None of these are bad movies, but it was my least favorite of them. Then we have 1970s, was it 70? I don't remember. 79, I think. Dracula, Frank Langella, John Williams score. Great, 8.5. I really, really enjoyed that movie. Underrated. I'm surprised I've never heard of it or like seen anything about it up until this point, but it's a very good movie. And that was also from Universal, so maybe they were, it had a little bit more production value than the Hammer one. And then you have 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula from Francis Ford Coppola. With Coppola being involved and Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins, like, I feel like it should have been the best one. It's not. I gave it a 7. It's good. It's entertaining. It's too long. And Keanu Reeves is absolutely atrocious in it. So for my recommendation of the best version of the traditional Dracula storyline, just watch the OG 1931 Dracula. If you don't like old movies like that, I'd go with the 70s version with Frank Langella. I think it is the next best after that one. And if you don't like that, then maybe you don't like Dracula, because honestly, I think it's better than the other two. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing some more horror videos throughout this month. Don't forget to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Nateflix reviews. Don't forget to listen to the podcast, reviewing my 31 Days of Horror movies on there. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, and also Instagram, Nateflix Reviews. Check me out there as well. See you next time.
The Nate in Nateflix. Nate.